Well, another E3 is come and gone. Not a word about the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Why were we expecting to hear about this? Like, did Square Enix drop the ball, or is this kind of on us? Like, are we kind of expecting a little too much out of them? So I want to talk a little bit about a couple things. First thing being winning E3. And like how we all put so much pressure, just ridiculous amount of pressure on these video game companies to like win E3, and to everyone has to have this like immaculate showing, and kind of like Iron Man, when you first see Tony Stark like come up on the stage and it's all flashing lights and all that stuff, and everyone's trying to like replicate that, right? Everyone wants to have their presentation be just the flashiest, punchiest thing ever. And what it leads to is a lot of games that are announced way ahead of time. And it leads to a lot of like cutscene previews for video games that don't actually include any gameplay. And we complain about it. We're always upset about how, oh, they didn't actually show any gameplay, or this, you know, they're announcing these games and there's no release date. And years later, it's like they're still not out, and we get really upset. But in the moment, we get hyped, right? We get excited and we get super stoked, and we just have a hard time thinking about the future, you know? All of these announcements at E3, we're always like, oh, that's coming this year or next year, right? And it doesn't happen, at least not in Square Enix case, right? I mean, in so many, Versus 13, Final Fantasy 15, Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and it's just like for over a decade now, they have been completely missing the mark with all of, but they keep doing it. And then the question is why? Why do they keep doing this? You've got to figure that there's got to be some negative impact at some point, right? But I don't think there actually is. I think companies are tremendously incentivized to try their best to win E3, to get all the free publicity, to get you guys to share all of their trailers on social media, to get people pumped. And if the game doesn't come out, I mean, people may get upset, but Final Fantasy 15 sold just fine. All right, 10 years later, changing the name, changing directors, you know, changing consoles, which system it would come out on, and the game sold just fine. Right? And they capitalized off the hype back 10 years ago. People, tons of people, including like Mike, and I don't know, so many people bought a PS3 just for Final Fantasy Versus 13. That looked so cool. It didn't come out, right? It didn't come out then. But that didn't matter. People still bought Final Fantasy 15 when it came out, right? Square saw very little negative repercussions from that, other than just a general idea among people that, oh, Square Enix, yeah, they're kind of unorganized and they don't release games on time. But how when a company releases a flashy trailer for a cool concept for a game that they haven't really fleshed out yet, I mean, how are we supposed to react, right? We get excited and we share it on social media, and they feed off of that. The marketing departments for these companies just thrive off of people sharing the trailers for their games. It's free press, it's free publicity, it gets everyone excited, and you know, people start tweeting with the whole, oh, these people won E3, and that's just such a big deal, right? Everyone gets so excited. This E3, there was slightly less of that, I gotta say. But even still, when companies don't do it, then we get upset at them, right? We're like, oh, like specifically Bethesda. Oh, Bethesda, they're still going on about Skyrim. Why don't they announce their new games? But it's like, dudes, you're upset about Square Enix for announcing a game way ahead of time, right? If Bethesda knows there's not going to be an Elder Scrolls 6 for like 3 or 4 more years, I actually respect the fact that they are not yet announcing it, right? I mean, they announced Skyrim like the year that game came out is when the first trailer hit. Like, people, that's how they do it, and that is the way to do it. You got to respect companies that do that. Don't punish companies that don't build the hype for stuff you're not going to see for a long time. And I think that's a problem that people have been having lately, that I've seen specifically amongst these video game journalists, is that they get so hyped, and oh, this is everything. It's just such a common, I mean, it's ridiculous. You see so much, like, I don't know, people put winning E3 on this pedestal, and the companies are trying their best to reach that. And when they don't really try to do it, then we get mad at them. But when they do try and fail to deliver because of their freaking ridiculous, massive promises that they're making, right, in order to win E3, then we get mad again because, oh no, you guys didn't follow through on it. It's like, I mean, I'm sure there's a balance, right? Actually make super killer awesome games and do it in only 2 years and have 5 of them a year, right? I'm not aware of a company that does that. But we get so upset. I think you see where I'm going with this. It's just, it's unbelievable. And so I wanted to kind of make a video here today just addressing why this is so harmful to the video game industry. Why our reaction, and it's a natural reaction. I do it. When, you know, Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer came out, I shared that on Facebook. I mean, whenever I see a game that just appeals to me, like it speaks to my heart, and it just, oh, this is the coolest thing ever, even if there's no gameplay, even if there was no release date, right? It's flashy and sparkly and fun, and look at the graphics and share this video, and I've done that. I've done that many times. And I usually, I don't know, I don't ever regret sharing something because who cares, right? Well, the marketing for the company cares, right? But, I mean, it's not like I go back, oh, I regret sharing this trailer. That's not how it is. Well, actually, I kind of do. But not for the reason you're thinking. Not because personally I'm like, oh, I feel stupid. I shared a trailer for a game that didn't come out. It's because we're sending kind of the wrong message to the companies when we eat this stuff up. And then oftentimes the game doesn't really live up to the hype that was built at E3. I mean, that rarely happens. That's one of the big jokes about Peter Molyneux, the creator of Fable, I think, and how he would promise the moon. He would promise, like, I don't know, like you'd be able to write your name into a tree and come back 10 years later and it would still be there, kind of stuff. And that was I don't know, he kind of started it, but the other companies are still carrying that. They're still doing it. They're still feeding off that hype. And my reason why I would regret sharing the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer when it first came out, when I first heard about it, is because they should not have announced it that early. And it's weird to kind of look back on this because it's you know, sometimes you look back on the past, you say, oh, what's done is done, let's just move forward, let's just look at the future. I disagree with that logic in general because you've got to learn from the past, right? You've got to look back and say, oh, hey, let's not do that again, right? Final Fantasy Versus 13, freaking Final Fantasy 15, Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Let's not keep doing this, okay? People are actually starting to really kind of get mad now. Let's slow down our freaking marketing machine and quit trying to win E3 every year with these games that we know aren't going to come out for 5 or plus years, right? And just like let's kind of slow down a little bit. And I feel like that's important. You've got to be able to look at the past and kind of learn from it. So in my opinion, there's something in marketing that you do when a product's about to come out, right? You ramp up your marketing. You don't ramp down. You never ramp down. You never release tons of content and then stop because that kills it, right? I mean, people may have gotten excited. You got all the exposure years ago. Wonderful. Some people maybe even bought a PS4 to play Kingdom Hearts 3, right? Because of your 2013 trailer. Or was that? Yeah. Was that still the PS3? No, that was the PS4. And so, great. Now it looks like the PS5 is going to be out when that game finally shows up. So it's like, dang it, this is Versus 13 all over again. People bought a PS3 just for that game. It didn't end up coming out until the PS4 Pro came out, right? So, I mean, eventually people are going to start getting mad. But kind of the point I wanted to make here is that Final Fantasy VII Remake had started off a trailer E3 2015, right? Then 6 months later, a gameplay trailer in December at PlayStation Experience, right? PSX. And then the next year, nothing. And then the next year, nothing. It seemed that they set a precedent, right? They announced the game existed. They showed a pretty fleshed out Midgar as far as I could tell. I mean, it looked pretty solid. Those were some good models, and You know, you can't judge playability based on a cutscene. However, at PlayStation Experience, you can judge playability based on the gameplay that they showed, and it looked playable, right? It looked to be, you know, in a decent spot. Albeit they only showed one specific area, and that's fine. All they've shown is Midgar, and obviously Part 1 is mostly going to be Midgar. And so that's totally understandable. But specifically the gameplay was at that, you know, crossroads where the, you know, Cloud, before Cloud jumps on the train and those soldiers are shooting at him and stuff. And that's fine. That's the only part they had built, I guess, which is interesting that they showed it off if that's all they had. Clearly they have more now, but they're not showing it. Kind of makes you wonder why. But the real point is that they ramped up 6 months. If you put a trailer out and 6 months later you have another trailer out, as far as the marketing team is considered, I mean, you either flatline or you go up, right? 6 months later, there should have been something else. And 6 months after that, there should have been something else. And that's baseline. That's to maintain the standard. That's not even ramping, right? But when you don't release materials, all of a sudden, it's like that was wasted, right? You build hype and it died, and now you're flatlined again, right? Now you're at the bottom. People still know what's coming, I guess. Like, I'm still excited to play it. That, generally speaking. But as far as the marketing goes, I don't even know what the game is. I don't really know how much it resembles what we even saw 2 years ago, right? Because they haven't been updating us, and that's fine. They don't have to constantly update us. But when you show a trailer and then another trailer 6 months later, that definitely gives the impression that, oh, hey guys, this game is coming. We are really working hard on it, and here's how far along it is 6 months later versus where it was when we first showed you. Here's a playable gameplay. I mean, we didn't get to play it, but someone was playing it, right? Here's a, you know, a playability trailer. And it almost seems like they've gone backwards since then. I mean, part 1 of this game is likely going to be a lot. I mean, Midgar is going to be a majority of it. You'll likely probably at least get out of Midgar by part 1. I mean, I hope so, right? But, you know, if all they're doing is that one city, and we kind of got a pretty good view of the city in that first trailer, that makes you wonder, what are they doing? Why is this still taking so much time? And so if they knew it was going to take this long, I hope they would go back in time and not announce this game. Because each E3 that passes, that the game they announced years ago doesn't show up, the more that this whole idea, the whole video game industry starts to look really bad, in my opinion. And people start to really kind of feel betrayed a little bit. And part of it is us jumping on the bandwagon, right? But they presented the bandwagon for us to jump on. I mean, they gave us all of the marketing materials. But I still would say that if we refused to freaking do this all the time, if we refused to just like get so high strung whenever Tony Stark walks out and announces that, you know, the next game is going to be the greatest thing mankind's ever seen, and we believe it. We believe it every time. And then we share it on Twitter and Facebook, and we tell all of our friends, and we're constantly talking about it, and we make videos about it, and we believe them. And it doesn't happen. The games that end up really killing it are oftentimes it's just the Nintendo games that just had a little Nintendo Direct of, you know, the stuff going with Reggie and he's just playing a game, and it's not all the flashy lights and crazy drama, right? It's just, oh, Nintendo made a game, right? I don't know how you guys, I know how most of you feel about Breath of the Wild. It's freaking awesome. But I know some people, it may not have been for them. They may not really like Nintendo, and that's fine. But you get hyped up about all these games, and the gameplay never looks the way that they show it at E3. How come there's no backlash from that? How come people keep doing it? It's because we accept it. Every time we see a trailer, we aren't calling the company out for using, you know, fake graphic, for using like pre-rendered graphics, or for using like, you know, showing the PC spec of a game that's not even going to come out on PC. It's going to come out on the PS4, and it runs considerably less, you know, not nearly as well then. And they always have these reasons like, oh, this was a pre-build and we scaled back later. Like, that's what they all say. But it's bullcrap, you guys. We need, like, it's on us, is the point I'm trying to make here. The companies will do what they do. These are corporations. These are businesses that want free press, they want exposure, and they want to sell their product. And the way they're going to do that is by making you think that they've reinvented the wheel, right? You know, they're the greatest thing that's ever happened. And you are going to believe it every time you hear it until you play the game and you realize, oh, okay, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. But maybe it's still a good game, right? It could still be a wonderful game and it still gets a 95 on Metacritic or whatever. And that's awesome. Congratulations. It is not what they showed at E3. Even The Last Guardian, which was supposed to run on the PlayStation 3, right? And they showed that E3 trailer. Even by the time it hit the PlayStation 4, it still didn't look as good as when they showed that trailer at E3 in 2009 or whenever that was, a long time ago. It's still, I mean, this is the next generation later. And they had to scale graphics back even still. Like, when are we going to look at this and say, no, we're not going to keep buying this. We're not going to keep accepting this crap that you guys are putting out because you're just like lying to us. But I don't know when that's going to happen, because when the lights come on and when the CEO of Ubisoft or EA or whatever shows up and they start talking about how they've made the greatest advancement in graphical technology ever seen, all rationality goes out the window. And everything they say, we believe. I mean, I wish it would stop, but this is just kind of the gaming industry at this point. This is how it is. This is what we see. I'm glad. I mean, I don't mean to just... I'm not like necessarily a Nintendo fanboy, but I am a fan of Nintendo. I do like their products. And I really love the move to Nintendo Direct, right? The Nintendo Directs versus the stage conferences that they had that were, you know, very similar to what you're seeing today from a lot of these companies. The Nintendo Directs, they're simple, they're straightforward, they just show you the game. I mean, it doesn't appear as though they're faking the graphics or anything. I mean, what you're seeing in the trailers is usually... I mean, they were even showing some Breath of the Wild frame drops in like their promotional material, right? Obviously, they didn't have that game perfectly running at the time, but what we saw is what they had. They are being more or less honest with the consumer, more than other companies, about what their final product is going to be. And these Nintendo Directs, I mean, they're designed to be, you know, interactive and fun and shareable and all of that stuff, but they're not, and they're meant to build hype to some extent, right? But it's nothing like what we're seeing from these other companies with the laser show and the flashing lights and just the pausing every 5 seconds for a round of applause because you just like freaking, you know, proved God or something, and, you know, everyone behold this wonderful thing you're about to see, and just people go crazy. Nintendo's moving away from that, and I think that's awesome. I hope more companies follow suit. Oh gosh. Anyways, so I just wanted to make a video talking specifically about that and saying that while they're freaking screwing up like crazy, this industry is consumer oriented, and we are buying into what they are putting out, and they're lying to us. And we have no one to blame but ourselves, all right? We buy into the hype every single time. When Square Enix comes out and we really, truly believe, like I did, that Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming this year. And, I mean, you can read the signs. I was mostly holding it just to, you know, what if I'm right? You know, clearly it wasn't going to come out this year. But who knows? Maybe it was going to. Maybe Square Enix finally learned from their past and they're changing, and they actually decided they were only going to ramp up right before the game comes out instead of years before and then nothing, right? Through some desperate hope that they maybe have learned from their mistakes, you know, I get excited. And this is something that when I realize that being like that is a net negative for the entire industry, right? It seems fun and fair and just harmless to get hyped about a game. It seems harmless, right? But you have to understand that these companies feed off of that. And they, like a freaking succubus, man, they will They will devour you before the product is even out, with pre-orders and DLC, and you haven't even gotten it yet, and you're so stoked you're willing to let them take your money before they've even shown it. Anything but freaking pre-rendered trailers. Oh, gosh. All right. I guess I'm done about this. I was going to talk a little bit about like movie trailers, kind of doing the same thing, getting us on the hype train and rarely delivering. You know, specifically action movies. I mean, you look at some of the art films and dramas, and they still do well. The trailers still seem to accurately represent the film, but a lot of the action adventure ones, I mean, you know, it's pretty terrible. So, don't let companies lie to you. And yeah, Square Enix, if they did not have Final Fantasy VII Remake like on a track to be ready by a certain time, they should not have shown anything, or at least they shouldn't have followed it up 6 months later with a new thing, right? Just wait a little while. It's not gonna hurt you. It's okay to wait, to not win E3 in 2015, and just to wait until you have a good product, right? And this is where I need to talk to you guys specifically about, like, when it comes to Bethesda. I saw so many people ripping on Bethesda for not having anything new to announce this year. That's okay, you guys. It's okay. They are working very hard. They make wonderful games. We don't want them to rush anything. We know they're making Elder Scrolls 6. We know it. You don't, like, at least with Square Enix, we didn't know if they were ever going to remake Final Fantasy VII. We didn't really know that until they finally came out, right? With Bethesda, dudes, they're making it, okay? Just know that they are making it. It will come out when it's ready. Don't hate on a company for not trying to win E3 for once. Just let it go. It's okay. It's better for the industry as a whole. Those are my thoughts on E3 this year. I'm starting to get sick of it. I mean, maybe I'm getting old. I'm definitely getting old. But you guys, don't buy into the hype every time. I watched Xbox One. I watched freaking Microsoft's E3. And you would have thought that they were just announcing like a cure for cancer with the way that their press event went. And they were showing the dumbest games. I couldn't freaking believe it. And after every announcement of the exclusive Xbox content, it was round of applause and people so excited, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, these games don't look all that good. I mean, Assassin's Creed Origins looks interesting because it's Assassin's Creed. It doesn't look necessarily different from any of the other games. But honestly, I mean, people are losing their minds over this stuff and then getting mad and feeling like they have a right to get mad when these things don't match up. I mean, fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, shame on me. Final Fantasy Versus 13 was announced like, I don't know, 11 years ago, right? Square's been doing this for 11 years now, and they keep doing it. Like, at some point, we have to accept the blame that we're letting this happen. We are allowing this to happen to us. Take that for what you will. You guys, I know I have a Kingdom Hearts 3 video that I've been working on really hard, and it's finally coming together. It is not ready today. My apologies. It will be ready at some point in the future. I can't guarantee when. We'll have an update for you guys on everything that we're doing soon. Mike is currently moving to a new place, so next time you see him, he'll be somewhere completely new. You guys are beasts. Thanks for watching our stuff. If you care at all about what I said, if you agree with me in any way, please feel free to like this video and to share the video and to comment on the video with your specific thoughts. I do want to hear what people think about this. I could be off base, right? I'm putting the blame equally on both parts. But if you think the industry deserves more, if you think we deserve more for sharing all of this stuff and for allowing ourselves to get hyped up time and time again, that is totally understandable. I'd love to talk with you guys in the description. If you think I'm completely off base, let me know. And that's fine. I'd love to talk about this kind of stuff in a calm and friendly atmosphere. You guys are beasts, and thanks for watching. Peace.